You're listening to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Welcome to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. This is Jaros Laux, and happy to be back for another live stream here at 2 o'clock, June 20th. We had an awesome conversation this morning with Corey Benton of Cobb County, Georgia, here in the studio. And now, online, I have an amazing guest, someone who I highly respect and someone who I'm excited to learn a lot about, Mr. Michael Boitz. Michael, thank you so much for being here on the Orchestra Teacher Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Laux. Great to see you.
Did I say your name right? Is it Boitz?
Yeah, you said it.
I got
correctly.
it. Perfect.
It's the Americanized version when my grandparents came over on Ellis Island. Yeah.
Wow. So, Michael, you are the orchestra director at Saratoga High School in Saratoga, California. And tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and your training, and so people can get to know you. We have a lot of exciting things to learn from you today.
Yeah, sure. Well, this is my 25th year. I just finished my 25th year at Saratoga High. And I grew up in Minnesota, a suburb of Minneapolis, Anoka, Minnesota. And I still go back every summer to the Boundary Waters, which I'm going to next week.
Nice.
But Saratoga, California is it's basically kind of a suburb of San Jose. It's at the bottom of the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Okay.
We're considered Silicon Valley, but it's kind of right on the fringe of it. So right out the window is we have redwood trees right there. So we're right at the bottom, and then over the other side of the hill would be Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And then 45 minutes to an hour north of San Francisco. Closest airport is San Jose, and that's about 10, 15 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been there at that school?
So I just finished my 25th year.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really funny because I thought when I first started here, it's a funny story how I got started, but I thought I would be here for 2-3 years. And then the plan was to go back and get a doctorate degree and go teach college, but what I found is that I kept gravitating back when Saratoga. It's a small community.
Okay.
There are 3 elementary schools that feed one middle school that feeds one high school.
Got it.
And yeah, so the school right now is about 1,150 students in total.
Okay.
It's a smaller high school compared to.
That's 9 through 12.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. When I first started, there was 11 kids in orchestra. I have a picture on the wall over there of the kids, and there was 70 kids in band altogether. And it was funny because I was at the Midwest Clinic, and I was sitting at, if you used to attend when it was at the Hilton on Michigan Avenue.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next door was the Blackstone Hotel.
Okay.
And I sat down next to it was the previous music supervisor of the Palo Alto district, which is where Stanford is located. And I had a name out, and it was one of my teachers, and we're sitting at the bar, but not the bar. It's like a breakfast kind of bar.
Uh-huh.
And we just started talking. We ended up talking for 2.5, 3 hours because we had all these things in common. And she's, and at that point I was still teaching in Minnesota. I taught for 2 years.
Okay.
And she said, well, why aren't, maybe you should try California. And I said, well, there's a lot of reasons I guess I should. I've never, and at that point in Minnesota, I was like the number 3 on the totem pole of directors, which meant I conducted the hockey band, if you will.
The hockey band. Awesome.
I did. Yeah. The hockey band. And the hockey's a big deal in Minnesota. Yeah. So I was kind of doing all of those sorts of things. And I thought, I don't think I want to do that forever. But I came to Saratoga High, and when I first came, I almost didn't go to the interview. There was 11 people in on the interview committee. And I was hired up the road first and verbally, and there's 11 people in on the interview committee. It wasn't a set list of questions and everything they have to do now for HR. It was a 3-hour dialogue with 11 people.
Wow.
The other school in our district, Los Gatos High School, the former principal fell asleep at my interview. I'll never forget. but everybody else was awake. And the principal who hired me, Kevin Skelly, was a great athlete. He went to Harvard to play basketball,
Oh,
actually,
wow.
and had a really interesting background. Was in the Peace Corps in Ecuador. And when you get to the end of the interview questions and they say, "Do you have any questions for us?" Kevin leaned in and he said, "Well," I said, "What is your vision for the school in terms of performing arts?" And you know, we were taught to ask that from our music ed professors and our
Mm-hmm.
teachers and stuff. And so I didn't really know what kind of answer it was going to yield. And so he leaned in, and Saratoga High it's been a high achieving academic school for a long time. So it was like number 12 in U.S. News and World Report that
Oh,
particular
wow.
year.
Yeah.
And it's a great. When I first started here, there were a number of teachers who had doctorate degrees, and very few teachers would leave this. I mean, it was a place where you went and
You
stayed.
you started and you stayed.
Yeah,
That was
and
it.
I didn't know that because the music program didn't look like much at that time.
Yeah, with 11 and orchestra.
No, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got stories, but he leaned in and he said, you know, the school does really well academically, but I think the campus needs a soul, more of a soul. And I said, oh, wow, interesting. And
That's
you know,
that
and I
is an
left.
interesting thing to have to come in and like create that, you know, that soul or
That's
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So really, the only time in my career that I was asked, and this was we're a tiny district. There's 2 high schools in the district. So
Okay.
California, you'll have a K through 12 district, and you'll have a high school district, and we're 2 high schools. It's Saratoga High and Los Gatos High, and Los Gatos is a beautiful, beautiful old campus. Everybody from here used to go there before they built Saratoga High in 1958.
Okay.
But the schools are 4 miles apart and about 4 light years apart, completely different,
Is
very different campuses.
okay. It is physical, or is it the students, or what kind of different? What are the biggest differences?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, um, when I came in, our superintendent, Cindy Rainey, Dr. Rainey, and Dr. Skelly sat me down and they said, "Okay, we're hiring you full time," and that was a big deal in California because you know everybody in education now has lived post Prop 13 in California, which is a controversial proposition that evened out the property taxes for people as they age, so it didn't become unaffordable. But at the same time, the bottom of education was just ripped out from under. So
Wow.
very,
Yeah.
yeah. So everybody thought you got to teach 5 classes and you got to have a minimum of 150, 200 kids, and
Yeah.
here I am with 11 and 70, right?
Yeah.
And they said, we know it's not going to work unless we have somebody who's going to be dedicated to it. If build it 3
Build it
years.
up. Yeah.
And I said, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time that first year trying to figure out how to quit.
What could I do? Where could I go?
Yeah, it scared the hell out of me. I mean, it was so that people actually looking at you saying, "What do you need? We'll help you. We'll make it work."
Mhm.
I mean, it was. I didn't even know where to begin. I mean, the campus was not in great shape back then. We have a new building. We have a new performing arts center, and
Ooh, wow.
yeah. But so we built a lot of things in the time that I've been here. But that was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But they were as supportive as one could be. So I really, really lucked out when I first started here. I did not have a normal situation.
Yeah.
And creating a culture is what I discovered is, it's funny when you go to college and you have all these high aspirations. I'm going to program, Hindemith
Right.
my first year, and I'll just teach them note by note. And then you think you got to have I took oboe lessons, private oboe lessons for a year.
I did too in my undergraduate.
Why did you do that?
Because I had friends that were oboe players, and I loved the instrument. And the professor at Ohio University was just unreal. She was a Yale grad. She's out in California now. Donna Conity. I don't know if you know Donna.
Oh, yeah.
I studied with Donna, and she was all about like letting me like take lessons with her. I went to studio class, learned how to make reeds a little bit, and the one joke I will never ever forget is, you tie the rope to the table and then you pull it. You got to pull it real tight. And
Yeah.
she's like, you have to make sure that when you pluck that string, it plucks a G. Otherwise, it's not going to come out right. And I'm trying to like tune it, and then like the whole studio busts up laughing because she got me good. So, but Donna was amazing. I mean, I studied with her for at least a year, and it was just remarkable. And I got to play in the concert band at OU, and I got to study with some great professors that in a smaller music school like that really helped me. But anyways, that's funny because I remember that yeah, Donna's out in California now. She's been out there for a while.
So the reason you and I took oboe lessons is completely different.
Okay.
I took oboe lessons because we're in woodwind methods class, right?
Hmm.
And I thought I was a hot shot. I grew up as a brass player, and I played
Oh,
cello
okay.
as a kid, and I could play clarinet, I could play saxophone, I could play flute. We got to oboe, double reed, and it was,
Yeah.
like your head's gonna explode. It's gonna
Yeah.
combust. And so my friends, that they thought, oh, hot shot, you can't do this. And I thought, well, of course I can. And then I was so distraught that I couldn't do it, and I was kind of feeling ashamed. And I thought, I can't go into this profession if I can't play oboe. So I went to her and I asked if I could take private lessons for a year, and she said, why? And I said, well, because I want to teach, and I think I need to know how to. I have to know how to. I could end up teaching. Double reeds one day. I
Hmm.
feel comfortable with strings and everything else, but. And she said, okay, well, I'll fit you in. And I took lessons with her for a year. It didn't get much better. At the
Okay.
end of the year, she put her arm around me and she said, Michael, I think we have arrived where we're going to get, and I want to wish you well. It's been really fun. I said, wait, are we done? Yes. I said, you're kicking me out? She said, yes. I,
You were that good.
I was terrible. Yeah. And so but the point being is
Hmm.
you think the content is everything, right? When you first start, and we learn really fast. Tim Lotzenheiser, context. What that our classroom is so much more context, and you got to have the content clearly,
Yeah,
but the context is everything.
it
And
is.
building that culture is what I feel like I've been doing as much as anything else the last many years. But
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like 25. It feels like about 5.
It's crazy, right? Yeah, how
Yeah.
fast it goes. It goes
Yeah.
so fast. It's pretty remarkable.
So
Yeah.
the program kind of snowballed, and I was the one person in the instrumental side, and I taught an AP music theory class,
Okay.
and there was 2 of us that were doing it at the time, the AP high achieving school at the time,
Yeah.
and everybody said they have high test scores. This is in 1998. And in Minnesota, we said test score. Is the hockey team good? Did the football team win? That's the measurement of a school, right?
Right.
So I don't know what they're talking. And then I quickly learned, oh, this is a whole different. Yes, I mean, I thought I was one of the academic kids where I grew up, but it's a whole different world of. It's a great world, actually. It's the kids have a lot of pressure on them
Yeah.
now. Building that culture, I discovered is where everything is at. And I think since I toggled both band and orchestra when I started, this last year we had 5 string orchestra classes, and
Great.
yeah, we have about 170 string players roughly,
Hmm.
and the I think band is over 200 again next year, but it's pretty close. And I think instrumental, maybe
So
180.
are you only doing orchestra now?
No,
You still do
so
both?
yeah, so the and everybody says you're crazy. What are you doing? Why don't you pick a stream and go that direction, right?
Yeah.
And I felt ownership over the program and the
Hmm.
culture, and I felt what I saw going on is that there were programs that one part of the program was a stepchild, and one part of the program was
Hmm.
not great. Or you've got a jazzer who's like, the jazz program is out of this world, and
Right.
the concert band sounds pretty bad, and I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm gonna, almost killed me, but I'm gonna toggle both,
Uh-huh.
and built it so that I still do it, and because I absolutely love working with. I teach the freshman orchestra, and I teach the freshman band,
Okay.
and I teach the top orchestra. And my colleague Jason Schwen and I, who's an alumni, we
Oh, that's
share a
cool.
lot. There's 4 of us all together, and we share a lot of the duties and share the kids. And so I teach orchestra. Jason Shiuan teaches an orchestra. Beth Nitzan, who does choir, teaches an orchestra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I teach two of the bands, and I love working with the freshmen because you get to know them for 4 years, and you're on a campus like ours. It's kind of a special thing, and so that part has been, and you're able to, maybe I'm a control freak perhaps too, but I like being able to build a fundamental program from the ground up.
Well, but it does. I mean, even if you think you're a control freak, you're still sharing a lot, and you're confiding in your colleagues to be able to do a great job, and obviously they are, and you have a really. It seems like you guys are very collegial and do a lot of things together, and that's awesome.
So somebody said, my dad repeated it, but somebody said a long time ago, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are.
Oh yeah.
And
why do you think I'm here with you right now?
No. But that's what so my immediate colleague Jason Shiuan, he's going in his 8th year. He's an alumni of here also, and he's the guy's brilliant. He could do anything. He's brilliant. He and his older brother I both had in school. And he was in all state orchestra as a 9th grader on cello, played tuba in the marching band, went to Northwestern for saxophone.
Wow.
He arranged like a million different vocal charts, and he arranges the marching band production and all that stuff.
Wow. That's nice to have someone in-house to do that.
Yeah, and then our other colleague, Sean Clark, who teaches a couple of the bands, and we have a robust percussion program. Sean Clark and Shavi Tantavarone. Shavi's what you call he's not certificated, he's a walk-on, but we fund him through our music booster.
Okay. Yep.
And the percussion program is off the charts, and so constantly we don't do anything without asking the other one like an opinion, or and they all see us doing that. And Mallory Thompson, my conducting teacher at Northwestern, said, she models this, and she won't pretend to know something she doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's two big things I remember. Number one, do the work. You got to do the work. There's no
way around not doing the work.
There's no shortcut. You do the work, do the score study, do the work. You got to, and the other one is don't pretend to know something you don't know. Because teenagers are the best BS detectors walking the planet.
Oh
right?
Yeah. They can sniff out a fake pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We were talking about that last week, one of the podcasts, and guy was teaching middle school, and he said like they just know. So and we talked about if you don't know something, it's okay to say I don't know, and figure it out. But I will figure it out. Is what you should follow it with. Or I will find out.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is part of that culture is that because we have kids who I had 2 kids in the top orchestra get into Juilliard this year, the Juilliard Columbia, literally. Yeah, and then we have kids that are going to Northwestern in Indiana, and then we have kids going all these remarkable. I'm writing recommendation letters for colleges that I couldn't have gotten into, I don't think, when I was there, and it's really really fun because we have kids that are beginners that come in, they're brand new to the instrument, literally every year, and they come from all walks of life. And so the way we build the program is everybody goes into the freshman orchestra regardless, or the
no matter what.
Yeah. So we don't do I set it up in a way that everybody gains, and the kids, the freshmen will joke around and call it scale jail.
Scale jail. I never heard that before, but that's funny.
Yeah, it was affectionately named a long time ago, and like last October, coming out of the pandemic, the 4 freshmen, they're just an awesome group of kids. But I only let them perform one piece at the October concert, and because I just felt like the middle school orchestra director is also an alumni.
Okay.
Went to Saratoga High. She was another kid who was in band and orchestra. Not a kid anymore. She's a brilliant teacher. And then the middle school band director is also an alumni. He was a.
You could. Just that right there shows you the type of community that you have, and that a lot of people will graduate. It's like, I'm never going back to my high school or my district ever again, But this shows like how special it seems like it is, and people want to come back and they want to spend their time there. Like you have a teacher that you're teaching with right now at your school, it's alumni, and then the middle school teachers. I mean, that says a lot.
Well, I mean, it just kind of landed that way. I mean, Jason Shiuan taught in India for a year out of Northwestern, and the most poverty-stricken, basically the school. He's in a documentary called Daughters of Destiny. There's a book about it as well. The school, I think it's Shavi Bantam School. I forget the name of it, but the notion is is to lift kids out of poverty and to lift the family out of poverty through education. So there's a wealthy, affluent guy who came to the United States, made a lot of money, decided that that's how he wants to spend his money. And so Jason taught there for a year, volunteered, and it's really the poorest of the poor, right?
Wow.
And so he's got this grounded perspective, and I spent time in South Chicago when teaching as well, and learned a vernacular that I growing up in a suburban white kid in Minnesota. I had no idea that there's a whole I jokingly what do I have this is a funny gift. Speaking of creating a culture, I'm trying to. Have you ever seen slang flashcards?
No.
Does that look backwards to you?
It actually does not. I know I'm backwards right now. I have a plugin on my browser that I can change that, but
I have a version 1, version 2, and I had a group of kids create their own slang flashcards.
That is funny.
Yeah, but at any rate, the point being, I think it kind of landed that way, and there's a really cool kinship because we all are still really close in the community, and it's a small town, and they all had the same middle school. They all had the same middle school teacher as well, and she recently passed away this last year, and that was a tough one.
Yeah.
But it really helps in building that culture. I think that this makes it a lot more fun. I mean, the kids in the community and the parents are, this being a parent is the hardest job on the planet.
Yeah. Now you have what, you have kids?
I do.
Okay.
I turned 50 in August, and I have twins who are turning 3-year-old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anthony and Thomas.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow.
The best thing that ever happened to me in my life, but I have no idea how in the world we're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis.
Twins, I have 2 boys, but they were 23 months apart, so I had some rest time in between to figure out the second one, but to go like, boom, here are 2, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, it's kind of older in life for us, and we took forever to decide, but and we went to an IVF doctor, and he said, you're not getting any younger. And I said about 5 times in that appointment, and I got upset, and I said, I get the point, but so now they spend a lot of time here at the high school as well. I mean, I'm upstairs in our office right now.
Okay.
And they've basically been adopted by the high school kids, so they come.
Oh.
The problem is, in the concert hall across the way, they think it's their own living room, and so they are way too comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're here a lot, and so they'll go to the football games, they come to concerts, they come to everything, and so that part makes it really fun as well.
Do you guys? I mean, obviously, since you're doing both, do you do a lot of full orchestra?
We do. So the way the program is set up is the first semester is string only rep.
Right.
And then second semester, the 2 advanced orchestras, they're smaller. So every part of the program, band, orchestra, choir, we set it up so there's a non-audition group, and then there's an audition group.
Sure.
So kids who just want to play, and those are always the largest groups. And we try to encourage kids because it is a really high achieving academic school, and
you froze up for a second.
Oh,
there you go.
Sorry,
you're back. You're back. It was just a few seconds.
Yeah. So the top 2 orchestras, combined string orchestras, and then the advanced woodwinds, brass, and percussion from the wind ensemble. We actually rehearse outside the school day. So it's a wacky schedule. Mm-hmm. We're on a full block schedule.
Oh, okay.
We call it blue weeks, meaning when blue days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We rehearse the symphony orchestra starting in January. It's 2:45 to 3:55.
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday, and then on Wednesday nights on the red weeks we go from 6 to 8:30.
Wow. Okay, so there's quite a bit of full orchestra rehearsal time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, depending the week, and then but it's a class for the woodwinds, brass, and percussion, so it's a semester worth of credit for them.
Good for them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's nice because it's hard sometimes when they're just volunteering and they're doing all their band rep, and then here's this orchestra music too. And by the way, you're
yeah,
not going to get any extra credit for it. It's an
yeah,
expectation that you do it.
yeah. So the big thing the building the culture part that I wanted to mention
Yeah.
that I think is so important right now is there's so much fear in everything. I
Mhm.
was judging with Julie Blackstock. Do you know her from Texas?
I don't know her.
Brilliant educator from Frisco, Texas. Like I can't believe I went too long in my life without knowing her.
Yeah.
Just one of those. She played at Midwest in 2015. One of those people that you just connect with really well. And I was talking with her, and the climate where we live politically kind of depends on where obviously where we're at and everything. But I think it's the most important time ever to travel and to go places, and it doesn't matter where it is, but to
Yeah.
get our kids out of their bubble, because we've created so much fear. I think we took an international trip last summer,
Oh
and we had
wow.
430 people.
Wow.
It
Is
almost
that band,
killed me.
orchestra, choir?
We had symphony orchestra, we had concert band, and we had a choir. And the choir's doing things that are kind of different. The band and orchestra, we performed at the Mid Europe Music Festival in Austria.
Oh wow.
And then the Imago that in Slovenia became an independent state in 1991. They used to be part of the former Yugoslavia. The government put a ton of money into cultural events and awareness and education because they wanted to get away from the brain dead. They wanted people to get back into
Hmm.
culture and art, and so they have a month-long music festival, and they put on these concerts for free for everybody in Ljubljana, which is about 300,000 people, gorgeous town.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were a part of that last summer. We had so many people wanted to travel. We had all of these parents and family. We put together a shadow tour as well, and it was really hard because we're dealing with it was May 2021, and we're dealing with a pandemic. We thought it's going away. Everybody's excited. We thought, my colleague Jason and I looked at each other and we said, well, if we have 150, 200 people show up, maybe we can make it work. But if we can't, that's okay. First day there was
But
325
yeah,
people.
who would have thought?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then it snowballed from there. But then Omicron comes,
that's
so
right.
then you're having all these meetings with kids and parents, and because as the music director, we're the expert in the medical,
You have
and
to be that and financial and counseling and right.
and and
So
then okay, so then Omicron's going away a little bit. Well, then there's a war, so Russia invades Ukraine, and then
yeah,
so there's that whole. So it was wild that we pulled it off, but people say, would you? And then the airlines are just a disaster
they
right
were.
now. But
Yeah,
we were in Prague for 4 extra days, I think, which was not bad. It's
yeah.
very nice to be in
Could be
Prague.
worse. Yeah,
Could be a lot worse, but in the end, we ended up having our own plane on Lufthansa Airlines, which that's kind of, I think that's more of a connection story, and the
yeah,
news outlets getting a hold of the whole thing. But the point being is we can't do it ourselves. Like the no curriculum is curriculum, and we're the professionals in the room who know the curriculum. Giving that curriculum a project and giving it something to go after, no matter what it is, I think is human nature. And I think there's a drive that takes place in that culture.
hmm,
It doesn't need to be something that's competitive. It doesn't. But when you do an exchange concert with another school, like we always try to do, the kids have a certain sense of pride all of a sudden, and
yeah.
it takes over. So we I religiously traveled, and we're in an international communities. The There was one year the marching band here was in the Macy's parade in 2012,
Cool.
and NBC television wanted to do like an interesting fact about each location. there's 20. We took a survey how many languages were spoken. There were 21 languages spoken in the band of 230 people.
Amazing.
21. Yeah, I'm like,
Great.
what?
Yeah.
Individual, just Chinese, the various, versions of or dialects of Chinese was amazing. But so to me, I think we're educators, but then we have to be great consumers for our kids' education. And if you're work with a great travel partner, or work with a company that has a philosophy and has a guide and a drive that meets, and ask a lot of questions that, I love the travel company that we work with. For Midwest this coming year, we use World Projects. They're in Benicia.
World Projects.
Yeah. They're great company. Deborah Gibbs is she took over the company. I think it's probably been 23, 24 years.
Oh, wow.
And she got into it. She was a music teacher herself. She taught high school, and she met the founder's son. And he was, the group Tower of Power.
Yeah.
Those guys the original guys went to Berkeley High on the other side of the bay. And Blunt was their band director. And his son so he founded this travel group with the notion of wanting to do these kind of projects and travel without paying an arm and a leg, and
that's cool.
Work with people who don't know what they're doing when it comes to instruments and so on. So Deb is awesome, but even literally over the weekend, I'm texting her because I'm looking at the prices of the flight here and the flight there, and I'm thinking, I think this guy, she's patient enough and wonderful enough that she, and so I have this really great level of comfort in doing that. And when you're asking those kind of questions of a vendor, Sonny and I, my part, we're both terrible at our own our own stuff. I can't tell you what's in the checking. I should be able to, but we're super protective. Sonny's a dentist, so it has a small practice and protects because of his assistants who work there. And for me, I always look at it as if it's my own kids too.
Yeah.
So we're protective by nature, but there's some great groups to work with out there, and then there's some who are not so great. But this year alone, what's really cool is I used to do this. I would call, remember Gerald Anderson at UCLA? He wrote Essentials for Strings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My first year at Saratoga High, I rolled the dice because I was trying to figure out his sequencing in the method book. And, it was a big deal to call somebody back at this. So I called UCLA and I got a hold of Gerald Anderson, my good friend, who's one of my closest friends to date. John Byrne teaches at another school down the road, Homestead High School. I said, yeah, Gerald Anderson, he was my teacher in college. I said, well, how does this work? He said, well, you just give him a call. I said, really? I said, yeah, give him a call. So I called him and we spoke for over an hour on the phone.
Nice.
I used the method book to date. And so I realized, yeah, I think I call people who think do something really, really well, or ask an opinion. So I do it weekly to date. Like I ask everybody around me, particularly the young people. I mean, I shouldn't say young people because I think I'm young, but well, I don't know, not old.
Younger.
Okay, yeah. But I think that's the wisest thing, is because I learned so much from my colleagues who are younger. I cannot teach them anything about technology. My learning curve, but we sit around and have conversations that I love, and I love the learning, from them. I love being able to call my colleagues and friends in the area and hit them up for advice and hit them up for programming. And we do it in our area, in this county. We do it a lot. It's a really collaborative group and a nice group of people in the area.
Very cool.
Yeah. So same thing with travel. I'd say if anybody wants to travel internationally, or they want to do something, call somebody who's done a lot of travel, or email.
Right.
It.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you're going to get is somebody everybody's busy, so the response might be slow, but I think it's a nice compliment when anybody asks you for help.
Cool. So yeah, and we, if the audience doesn't know, Michael's group from Saratoga is playing at Midwest in December, and I don't know if you're able to tell us about your programming or whatever, but this is their third or fourth time you're going?
This is the third
time. And we played together at 2018.
Yeah.
That's when I was there with Alpharetta. And that's kind of where I met you, I think. originally was at the
Yeah,
director's pre-con meeting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in June. Yeah, of
We did
18.
we did that. I remember somebody organized a lunch that time, so this time I decided to do it. So I just went around to the orchestra directors and I said, let's go to lunch. And everybody looks at me like, but then now we're all on Facebook with each other. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it makes it fun. Yeah.
It's exciting. And so you're going as a string orchestra.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The program I could end up. You got to cut me off if I'm going too long.
Oh no, we're good.
The program I am so excited about. I the the last year for me Midwest I've gone for 28 years and I love going because I love that the equation for how they have you program. Some people see it as a goal and an obstacle. I actually really enjoy the process of it because I see it as sort of it's a puzzle and
definitely challenging.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I will say it's funny because it's a Socratic teaching, but I tell the kids, I said, the older we get, the more stupid we become. And it's one of the things my dad used to say, and I didn't know what he was talking about till I was like 25 years old.
Now you know, yeah.
Nobody'd say, yeah, literally, the older you get, the more stupid you become. I'm like, okay, but the more we learn, the more we know just how much we don't know. So discovering new music and composers and pieces, particularly for the string orchestra genre, wow, is there a wealth out there that's unknown?
Right.
And stuff that's, that are gems. And, composer like Bohuslav Martinu, contemporary of Dvorak, for example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the string orchestra music of this guy is remarkable. And I had no idea until I stumbled upon it by accident.
And what is the name?
Bohuslav Martinu. Martinu, Martinu, Martinu.
Martinu. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, he's got a lot of symphony orchestra music that's out there, but there's so many composers that get overshadowed by of course, the name of the day or whatever. And yesterday, listening to public radio was a great day throughout the day because you're listening to all these marginalized composers over the year. Juneteenth, yesterday, the holiday.
Oh, great.
And I was like, literally, I was up. My household was probably upset because I could not sleep. I'm looking up all this music last night, and I'm there at 3 a.m. in the because I get fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I find it kind of fun. So we're actually we've got a couple different. We're doing 3 different premieres.
Wow, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah. So this just happened a weekend before this past weekend. When we were at the meeting, we went out to dinner with Jason had Mallory Thompson as a conducting teacher as well.
Okay.
I idolize her. She's in the band world, but she's conducted our all-state orchestra and our professional symphony here, and I don't know anybody better on the podium.
Wow.
She is what you see while you're sitting down having a conversation is what you get on the podium. And when you talk about somebody who does the work, she knows the score inside out, upside down, backwards for
That's what I've heard. I don't know her. I've never worked with her, and but I've just heard all these great things.
Yeah. I've got great stories of getting in trouble with her too. When I was in her, when I played under her.
You want me? I can censor it. I have a button. I have the button that'll censor. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. That was the artificial pencil story. That you ever pretend to have a pencil in rehearsal and you didn't have one?
Oh, no, I've never done that. I've seen people try to do that before, though.
Well, when I went to her conducting symposium for the first time, I would show this VHS tape to my students when I got back, because at the conducting symposiums you prepare the score, and when you think you're going to be so brilliant, and they're just going to watch you conduct because so much now about the score, right?
Yeah.
And so I get up there and I'm conducting something by Percy Granger, and I conduct for 10 seconds, and she's, all right, Michael, I'm so glad you're here. You've just given me so much material.
In 10 seconds. You're busted.
And so So I used to show that VHS tape to all the orchestra kids, and I'd say, so don't pretend. So here's the deal: we're all learning, we're all trying to get better, so let the guard down. Like, I would do that, but the other one I got in trouble was the artificial pencil. I was in the back and I was writing on the music stand, and she said, "Did you write that down?" It was in rehearsal, and I said, "Yeah, show me your pencil." I went, "You kidding me? I'm in grad school," and she's going to say, "Show me your pencil," and I didn't have a pencil. The room was silent, and she yelled. She said, "You don't have a pencil. You don't have a. Don't you ever, ever pull the artificial pencil with me." And the room was silent. And she said, "Because I am the queen of the artificial pencil."
That is a riot.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she went to Northwestern herself as a trumpet major to start with. But anyway, so we were out to dinner with her and her husband, Jake Kennedy. They got married last December. They rekindled he was a few years older than her at Northwestern. He wrote all kinds of music in Los Angeles for television, theme songs, Coca-Cola, you name a product, and you and I could sing all of his commercials. And he was a composer by nature, but he kind of got hooked into that. Then he was the provost, the vice president of the Berklee College of Music in Boston for 1994.
Okay.
The percussionist, he was like the very first I don't know how to say it, but legit percussionist for the Drum Corps International to actually be involved with it. Was a real percussionist. He's still involved to this day.
Cool.
I think it's really at the heart of the involvement of the percussion world and all that color that comes with it. So, anyways, it's right out of When Harry Met Sally love story. Their marriage in December. So I get a little emotional just thinking about it because I think the world for so much. And so here's somebody who got married when, I'm not going to say how old she is, but she's older than me. And so anyways, I've never seen her happier. And so we're out to dinner, and that's a treat because you see somebody that you idolize and love at the same time, and they're so happy. So he wrote a piece for her called "Be Ever the Hope." Her middle name is Beth, stands for BETH, Be Ever the Hope. And we were out to dinner, and I was talking to them about this blank program spot that I was trying to figure out. And he said, "Well, how about Beth?" And I went, so he wrote it for wind ensemble. And so now he's arranging it for string orchestra with the percussion.
Wow.
Piano and harp. And yeah, so
very cool piece then.
Yeah. I've asked Shiuan, and I don't know if I have permission to say this or not.
Okay.
Yet. I think I do. I think I can. Can I? I think I can. He's super I had to really drag this out of him because I knew he was working on it because of a friend of ours, Scott Lang.
Okay. Yeah, I know Scott. Yeah.
Kind of connected the dots. Shiuan is, Sue really well, and I think that's how we met each other.
Right.
Sue, he's like a soulmate. We met each other when our groups did an exchange concert in LA a number of years ago.
Cool.
And that's how we instantly became really close, and kind of because I consider him a soulmate in a way. And Sue, his parents are amazing.
Yeah.
They came from Korea, dirt poor, with nothing, literally nothing.
Yeah.
And they lived in this tiny place, and everything in the world was for he and his older brother. And his mom would sing these folk songs to him growing up. And she was a pretty good singer as a youth. She got invited to sing on Korean national television. And she's a little girl. She goes to the studio. She's going to sing in this choir, has a solo on Korean national television. And she couldn't afford the dress to look good enough. So they pushed her to the back of the choir. So it's a heartbreaking kind of story.
Yeah.
The song is called "Spring in My Hometown." And the Scott Lang component of that, Scott started something where he's working with younger composers to write music that will be completely free to Title I schools or schools that have lesser resources.
Okay.
Somehow he managed with Hal Leonard, and it's all like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3.
Sure.
Hal Leonard agreed to publish these composers after a lot of, I think, finagling back and forth. And so Scott is the one who kind of, I think he's the one who told me, because Sue is doing it so that this piece gets out there for free to all of these people. There's a connection, there's a kinship there in spirit, and that his mom would sing that to he and his brother. And this is my own interpretation of it, but Sue is reflecting on the sacrifices of his mom and dad and all they did for him growing up. But I also, in my mind, sort of think of she's singing that song and giving him a message and his brother a message. Don't quit, don't give up. They're going to push you to the back of the choir, but you keep singing. And he never said that, but in hearing the story, I'm thinking that. So he's got this, there's a YouTube that he is playing piano in his parents' house, and his mom is singing. She's got Sue's smile, this huge, beautiful smile.
Yeah.
He's singing and he's playing piano. And so that is going to be arranged for string orchestra, and we're gonna
wonderful.
Yeah, fingers crossed, premiere. And then the last one, another alumni of Saratoga High, who's a good friend of my colleague, Tony Galausi. He has a professional quartet, Tony Galausi Quartet. He's a jazz trumpet player. He was the first chair trumpet in Allstate in California when Dr. Thompson was conducting the Allstate.
Cool.
There's all these weird connections.
Yeah, it's neat when that happens.
Yeah, so he and Jason are really close. He's come back just when he's had a gig in San Francisco. He's brought his quartet down to be with us, and very well known. And we're in the spirit of trying to represent, marginalized composers and diversity. I'm trying to think of something that would emphasize jazz as our only unique American art form.
Yeah.
So Tony is writing a piece that we're commissioning for string orchestra and jazz combo.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of our finest improvisers that we've had in the last many years was actually one of our concert masters who performed in 2018.
Cool.
His name is Charles. He's going to be a dentist. But he played in the jazz band all the way through college and the orchestra all the way through college. He's going to be our soloist on violin. And then Tony is bringing his entire quartet from New York. They blocked it, so they're going to come. And
that is going to be a cool concert.
Yeah, and then one more. We had another kid from 2018 who just is finishing his master's at Juilliard. Thomas Lim, an amazing cello talent, is going to play with us as well. So that piece. That one is to be determined because we're tossing around. Aside from that, we're doing Shostakovich has a concerto for piano, strings, and trumpet.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we're going to do the third and fourth movement of that. It's a great piece. And let's see what else is on the program. Boy, now I just went blank all of a sudden. Jesse Montgomery we have on the program, who's in residence with Chicago right now. And is it John Chen? I'm embarrassed. I just went blank. Julie gave me the name and the piece when we were judging together Blackstock, so I have to credit. It's a gorgeous piece.
Cool.
Another composer who he and his wife started a publishing company in Australia to get, I don't know how you say it, better quality music to younger groups.
Okay.
Out there, yeah.
Yeah. That sounds great. I mean, it's going to be and what day and time? I know they just released the full schedule.
Thursday, December 21st. And it'll be at 2:15 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. So I just found out my session time is at 1:15. So I will be running over to your concert after my session.
What's your session?
My session is setting up students for success, diagnosing, and it's a pedagogical session.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and that's at 1:15 on. I just found out Thursday. So
everybody who's watching should go to that. I never stop going to those sessions. They're
great. I mean, every time I go to Midwest or ASTA, I get a ton from the sessions I attend, and it doesn't matter how long you've been teaching, you're going to learn something from somebody.
Yeah.
So
every time you walk away with a gem and you think, wait a minute, why didn't I think of it that way? Like,
yeah. So I'm excited about Midwest this year. It's going to be a great. One of my former students, David Metrio, he's been on the podcast before. Do you know David? You met him when you were there?
Yeah. We went to lunch in Chicago. He's in Georgia.
So I taught him at the university, and he was the rock star. He was a rock star. He came in as a freshman when I was a freshman, I guess, at Kennesaw, and he was just awesome. So he and I are good friends, but he's also a former student, and I'm super proud. Like his group played at GMEA this year and just totally killed it. So I
Yeah.
said, and a bunch of people said you got to put in for Midwest, and he
He's
did. And
definitely, yeah, he's got the heart and soul of an artist and
yes,
educator.
yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
an amazing young teacher and just tearing it up, tearing it up. So I'm super proud of
Yeah.
him.
You've got a lot that you've taught that are out there doing great things too. I think
Yeah,
he's one of
there's
one of
some kids doing all kinds of things. That yeah, it's really fun, and as you know too, it's fun to see. And you have all your alumni coming back to play in your concerts. It's just that's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
it's very cool. And I think that again shows the community, the pride, the camaraderie, the climate, the atmosphere that you have going on, and you've had going on there for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what's going on. We have it. We have the cellos have it. They call it toga cellos. It's a very interesting. They're the cello bros.
Okay. Yeah.
Deep voice.
Yeah.
Their cellos are lifting weights together and such. Going to the gym. The leader comes up to me. The kid's got arms that are the size of my torso.
Sure.
And he, at the end of rehearsal, yo, Mr. Boitz, we done? What that means is everything put away carefully? Is everything like, we free to go?
Can we go? Yeah.
Manager, sweetest kids you could ever imagine, but they're hilarious. They have their own, what do you call it? Instagram pages, videos. And yeah,
that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They are a riot. A lot of that's what makes it really fun too, is you pave that path and allow the kids their personality. And if they can find a place where they're uninhibited,
Yeah.
because there's so much judgment everywhere else, right? And there's so much,
absolutely,
all unhappiness is caused by comparison, as we know.
Yeah.
And getting them to a place where it can go one way or the other with our craft. And you can have it all. You can have a group that achieves at a really high level and not have it be like torturous.
Right. And that's not the environment of my program either. And
So,
I want the kids to want to be there. I want the kids to have a break from their crazy academic load, as you know, and I want them to feel like they're part of the family. And I think even though I'm new at my school, that's starting to happen really quickly, which I'm really proud of.
But that's who you are from the day I met you. You're doing this, which you're bringing all of us together through this process. This is like the greatest gift.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I love doing this, and I was talking to Corey last couple hours ago here, and we were just talking about how this is something I love doing for the community, but selfishly, it's therapeutic and it's educational, it's professional development, and I just love chatting and love hearing about all these things. And I mean, it's been inspiring listening to you tell us about your program today and tell us about like all that's going on. And I have to look up Martinu now, Martinu. I got to look up composer now.
Have you ever looked at Benjamin Britten's music for string orchestra or so
not beyond not beyond what has been popular, I guess.
The young Apollo, for it's really hard, but it's for piano and strings and a quartet. So it's a piano, quartet, strings.
Wow.
And all the parts are equally. It's like the Elgar introduction and Allegro.
Okay.
And it's there's a quartet and there's the orchestra part, but the quartet there's nothing. The parts are all the same level of difficulty.
Okay.
You
just need the soloist style playing for the quartet.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Sandy Lewis teaches at Gunn High School. The most amazing creative program I've heard in a long time was her and Tiffany O. Ponticelli at Midwest last year. Jaw-dropping diversity.
That's right. I remember hearing Gunn. Yeah.
Yeah. Without being cliche in any way, everything.
You just froze a second. Let's see if you come back here, Michael. He's got it. Okay. You just froze for about 10 seconds there.
Shoot. Sorry.
It's okay. So you were talking about Gun
Yeah,
and like the diversity, the programming, and
Sandy. Like, so
yeah.
she's my first friend when I moved here 25 years ago. She taught at a different high school at the time. We've been friends ever since. She is a low key, like very mellow, soft spoken leader, but she champions chamber music as the epicenter of the program in a way that I don't know anybody else who does it so well. And then I learn new composers from her. Like, I just go to lunch or coffee or a phone call, and all of a sudden, whammo, I'll send you an email in a moment with a couple different things that she sent me literally just a few weeks ago.
Great.
And I'm like, what? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I would love to be able to diversify my programming a lot more. And so any ideas I get from other people, I would say, I guess I'm not the best researcher of that, but I would love to, definitely look at things.
For me, it's an escape. I put my headphones on and I go down that rabbit hole. And one thing leads to another. And, the resource we didn't have when we were kids. We used to ride our bike down to the library, get the LP and listen to Respighi, Pines of Rome.
Right.
On the record album, and play it so loud that you get in trouble,
Yeah.
The notion of to me, it's like I'm still a kid in a candy store when it comes to the resources we have so automatically.
That's nice. Yeah. Well, this has been great. And I look forward to hearing your group at Midwest and maybe, chatting some other time offline.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great.
And I think it's time for Lassiter to take a tour to California.
That would be great. I know my parents would love that. And
we host a lot of groups.
You do? Okay.
The Monterey Bay Aquarium is an hour and a half, 2 hours on the other side of the mountains from us. San Francisco's right up the road. San Francisco gets a really bad rap nowadays because of the crime and post-pandemic everything. But you got to, that's a reality, I think, in a lot of large cities. But it is a gorgeous, amazing, beautiful, incredibly diverse city that people should visit. And all the way down Highway 1, the coastal area is just rich with sightseeing and stuff too. We have a great concert hall, so we'd love to host you if you want to come out.
Well, and the same is true for you if you ever want to come to Georgia, Atlanta. We have a beautiful concert hall too at my school that is really, really, really nice. So yeah. But it's been awesome, and I thank you for coming on and taking the time and sharing all your great things that you've shared today. Been a lot of fun.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me. It's a treat, Charles.
It definitely is a treat. Well, thanks everybody. This is closing up this podcast, but with Michael Boitz. His email will be at the bottom of the podcast description and on the YouTube channel if you're interested in contacting him, learning more. But it'll be great. We're going to be on in a couple hours here with Katie Eakes from Anchorage, Alaska, who I got to work with a little bit a few weeks ago when I was up there teaching. So so thanks again, and we will see you all next time on the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. For resources and more information, visit orchestrateacher.net.